Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to present the budget for 95-96. Mr. Speaker, sir, 4 years have passed since our government under the leadership of Prime Minister Shri P.V. Narasimha Rao took office in the midst of an unprecedented economic crisis. Our immediate task was to save this nation from a relentless slide into the abyss of falling production, soaring inflation, and deepening poverty. We dealt swiftly with the immediate crisis, and we also worked towards a broader objective of shifting the economy onto a path of rapid employment-generating growth. Our aim was to raise India to her rightful place in the Committee of Nations. Sir, sometimes in the heat of political debate, we lose sight of what has already been achieved. Let me take a few minutes to outline how far we have come since those grim days of 91. First, the growth of our economy had fallen to less than 1% in 91-92. We brought the economy back to a growth of 4.3% per year in the 2 years thereafter, and growth has accelerated further to 5.3% in 94-95. Few countries can claim as quick and smooth a recovery from as deep an economic crisis we faced in 91. Industrial growth had collapsed to about half of 1% in 91-92. Today, Indian industry is experiencing a vibrant, broad-based recovery with industrial growth of 8.7% in April-November 1994. The manufacturing sector is growing even faster at 9.2%, and the capital goods sector is growing at 24.7%. I hope, sir, that those critics who predicted that our industrial and trade reforms would hurt Indian industries would look at the reality and think again. There are signs of a strong revival in domestic industrial investment in 94-95 as Indian industry modernizes and upgrades technology and improves competitiveness. Foreign direct investment is also responding well to the new policies, with large investments flowing into key infrastructure sectors such as power and telecommunication. Food grain production had fallen to 168 million tons in 91-92. This year, it will be an all-time record.
आपका माइक ठीक है वो ट्रांसलेशन आपका ठीक है
Food production had fallen to 168 million tons in 91-92. This year, it will be an all-time record of 185 million tons. Our farmers have clearly benefited from the policy of offering remunerative prices and have returned a strong production performance for which they deserve our gratitude. Public stocks of food grains, which provide an invaluable insurance against bad weather and other contingencies, had declined to 14.7 million tons 3 years ago. They have been rebuilt to a record level of 31 million tons as on 1st January 1995. Sir, growth has created new jobs for our people. In 91-92, total employment grew by only 3 million. In each of the 2 years thereafter, employment increased twice as fast, with about 6 million new jobs added each year. The increase is expected to be even higher in the current year, 94-95. The drawing room Cassandras, who predicted massive unemployment as a consequence of the reform, have been conclusively proved wrong. The inability to manage our external payments was the immediate cause of our collapse in 1991. I am sure Honourable members are aware of the remarkable change that has taken place in this area. The dollar value of our exports fell by 1.5% in 91-92. In 94-95, our exports have grown by over 17% in the first 10 months. This follows a 20% increase in 93-94. Imports have also grown in line with the revival of the economy, but the balance of payment situation is comfortable. The fears that were voiced in some quarters that our trade policy would generate a disruptive flood of imports and weaken our economy have been shown to be completely unfounded. Liberalization and openness have actually increased India's self-reliance. Exports now finance 90% of our imports, compared to only about 60% in the later half of the 1980s. The external deficit in current account was over 3% of GDP in 1991. It is expected to be less than 0.5% in 94-95. Sir, at the time of the crisis, our external debt was rising at the rate of $8 billion a year. In 93-94, the increase in external debt was reduced to less than $1 billion. In the first half of the current year, our external debt actually fell by almost $300 million. Our foreign currency reserves had fallen to barely $1 billion in June 1991 when our government came into office. On March 10, 1995, they stood at the record level at over $20 billion. Sir, a key element of our strategy was to give top priority to strengthening anti-poverty programs. Once the initial crisis was overcome, we have fulfilled this promise. Planned expenditure on employment and anti-poverty programs in the central sector has been increased very sharply in the last two budgets. The allocation for rural development has been more than doubled, from rupees 3,100 crores in the budget estimate of 92-93 to over 7,000 crores in 94-95. Over the same period, the allocation for elementary education was increased by 84%, for adult education by 78%, and for health by 91%. Mr. Speaker, sir, these indicators testify to a remarkable turnaround in a relatively short period of time. We inherited an economy near collapse 4 years ago. We have transformed it into an economy showing strong growth in agricultural and industrial output, a strong revival of domestic investment, a steady increase in direct foreign investment, renewed growth of employment, and a comfortable foreign exchange situation. This is the result of hard work of our farmers and industrial workers, our managers and exporters, combined with the far-sighted policies implemented by the government under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Shri P.V. Narasimha Rao. What is most encouraging is the emergence of a broad national consensus in support of reforms, a consensus which vindicates our strategy of moving forward steadily and surely on the path of reform. Sir, I congratulate Shri Somnath Chatterjee on the new role he has assumed in attracting investments into West Bengal. I can assure him, even Karl Marx, with his healthy respect for the productive forces as the motor power of society, would have approved of it. We have come a long way, but journey is far from over. We need to redouble our efforts in several areas to consolidate our gains and push the economy to even better performance. This is both feasible and also necessary to achieve our goals. Reforms in the areas of taxation, trade and industrial policies, and the financial sector have yielded good results. They need to be completed as planned so as to enhance the efficiency and competitiveness of our economy. Barriers to further expansion of agriculture have to be identified and lifted. The public sector has to be revamped Industrial relations have to provide for greater flexibility in deployment of labor. Delivery systems for social services have to be modernized, plugging loopholes and promoting cost effectiveness. Capital market reforms have to be widened and deepened to strengthen investor protection. Insurance sector reforms have to be pursued with the aim of greatly widening access to insurance services and promoting competitive and efficient customer-oriented services. We must and we will push ahead in all these areas. Sir, there are some weak spots which have surfaced and need to be addressed urgently. After the initial successes in fiscal consolidation, further progress has proved much more difficult. The fiscal deficit increased sharply in 93-94, and the pressure on the deficit has continued in 94-95. These developments must be countered through determined action. If we try to fund every project and program, irrespective of the revenues available, we only generate high inflation, high interest rates, which choke off investment and a proliferation of underfunded, incomplete projects. This approach will only jeopardize our basic objective of development with social justice, since it is the poor who will suffer most from the resultant inflation and the slow growth of employment opportunities. We must therefore ensure that fiscal discipline is further improved in the years ahead. Inflation has surfaced again as a serious problem. I feel it every day as it threatens the breakup and the cohesion of my own family. We had succeeded in lowering the rate of inflation from the peak of 17% in 1991 to around 7% in the middle of 1993. But since then, inflation has accelerated again and currently exceeds 11%. This acceleration has occurred because of several factors. One reason is the sharp increase in procurement prices in the previous 3 years. Another factor is the shortfall in production in critical sectors such as sugar, cotton, and oilseeds. The persistence of fiscal deficits at levels higher than should be has also contributed to inflationary pressure. Recognizing these problems, we will tackle inflation on a priority basis in the year ahead. Monetary policy has already been tightened to reduce the growth of money supply. Interest rates on bank deposits have been raised to give greater encouragement to savings. Taking advantage of the improved foreign exchange position, imports of key essential commodities such as sugar, cotton, pulses, and edible oils have been freely allowed with zero or low duties to moderate inflationary pressure. We are also taking advantage of the comfortable food stocks to undertake continuous open market sales of wheat and rice with a view to moderating price pressure in these items. The public distribution system has been strengthened and supplies through the PDS are being supplemented by necessary imports of sugar and edible oils. Over the coming year, we will use all instruments available to ensure stability in prices of wheat, rice, and edible oils. Tariffs and trade policies will be deployed to ensure that domestic prices of industrial products do not rise unduly. The consumer movement will be strengthened and government will be vigilant in curbing restrictive business practices and hoarding. My revenue proposals, to which I will come a little later, are also designed to check inflation in commodities of mass consumption. Sir, infrastructure is another area of potential weakness. If we are to aim an economic growth of 7 to 8%, which has been achieved in other countries and which